Okay, so I've added a bonus problem to show you why it's a good idea to be able to handle the percents using the proportion method. Because what happens is, what is the standard for the problem you're solving can change in the middle of a problem. So let's look at this one. This year I sold 60 cars. That's the one number that I know to get started with. Next year I'll sell 20% more cars than this year. So when I go to the green and I start putting in N for next, we'll be looking to do 20% more. How many cars will, this year I sold, any of those comes. This year I sold 20% more cars than last year. I don't know how many cars I sold in each of the years. This is two different problems. I'm going to use the top two together here, where I've got the blue and the red. I got some percent over 100. So my percent's gonna go over 100. And I'm gonna begin with 100%, and I'm gonna watch what happens. I'm gonna sell 20% more cars this year than last year. So what I have, using green and blue, I'm gonna go for 20% more cars. I'm gonna add 20 and get 120%. So I get 120%. And over here, I have is over of. Now, is would be the standard of what I'm working with. And so this year I sold 60 cars, and next year I'll sell 20% more than this year. So the standard that I've established there is 60, but 60 is this year. Now, is this year 100% or is this year 120%? Turns out this year is 100%, so I'm gonna put my 60 right there. And I don't know next year yet. And I'll go ahead and solve this, okay? So what happened there is 120% went in play, 60 went to work here, and I went after to see what's going on. And let's see how we get this done. Looks like I'm dividing by 100, so N, which will be green. So I'll do this all in green to get myself through the ends. It's gonna divide by 100, you can see it that way. N equals 120 times 60, divide by 100, and it'll get me 72 cars. Okay, that's number, that's cars. And why does the word cars even show up? Because the 60 actually has cars on it as units. So this cars as a word unit does not disappear. I get 72 cars next year. Looking great. Now I got this other one where I'm going to use red and green. Again, I'm going to have percent over 100 equals is over of. Now in this one, I'm going to start with 100% that I sold this year. And it said, this year I sold 20% more cars than I did last year. So what happens is, when we look at this, let's see how we're going to do that. Maybe. This year I sold 20% more cars than last year. So I have to get to figuring out what last year was when this year was 20% more also. So what's gonna happen is, I'm gonna start with 100 for 100% for last year. Because than last year, than this year, those are than showing me the anchor. Something that I'm doing more than, less than, anchors me at 100%. So here I'm anchored at 100% again, and I sold 20% more. So I add the 20%, and I'm at 120% for this year. That's 120% that I'm gonna put to work here. And let's see how we go. Okay. So I'm definitely gonna have 120%. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that 120% is gonna be, if you can see, this year. So now, the thing that I know is this year I sold, sorry, I don't need green, I need blue for this year. 120% is this year's 120% of last year. So I do set up 120%, and I only know one of these numbers. And what I know is that I sold 60 cars this year, along with it being 120% of last year's. So what I don't know is the value here of L. So now I'm going to have to divide this by 120. L equals 60 times 100 divided by 120. That's 6,000 divided by 120, and that gets me 50 cars. So the answer is L equals 50 cars this year, as established, is going to be 60 cars, and next year it's going to be 72 cars. This is a classic question, where'd the extra dollar go? If you've ever heard the riddle about where'd the extra dollar go, it deals with this same concept. And it deals with what is the basis for each individual question. Because we could now say, wait, where'd those 2 cars go? 20% of 60 cars is going to be 12 cars. Why does one of them say that this, we added 60 plus 12 to get to that? If we did 60 minus 12, we would get 48. Where did the 2 cars go? And that all has to do with properly setting up the values so that you take that 20% to be a part of relationship to the 50 cars that were the basis for the second problem that we did. It was based on a 50 car year, the old number, bumping up to make 60. We didn't know the old 50, but we knew we wound up with 60 after we added 1/5 of that number, 20% of that number. So this is the key to why I suggest that people get used to this, because a lot of times people say, oh yeah, 20% of 60 is 12, let me add 12 to get 72, subtract 12, get 48. That is wrong. So this bonus problem tries to look at why it's a good idea to be familiar with the proportions method. Great.